Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic. If retirement in the future means you donate your body and organs at age 40 but will be kept alive artificially in a perfectly simulated environment where you live worry-free, would you do it? Why or why not? And you would actually trust they could keep the system running for another 60 years or so? With my luck, they would load me into the matrix and the system would throw an error and have to be rebooted. Or that you've essentially signed over your life and digital consciousness for them to do as they please. Yeah, no, I've seen Black Mirror. I'll pass. Google in charge. Well, we're going to discontinue the service next month. You have the next week to download your relatives to your local drives. Who'd bring up the kids that you have when you're 30? Hey little Timmy, I know you're looking forward to your 10th birthday, but guess what? Daddy's going to the farm to live in a jar. Sorry, no more playing catch. Yeah, why 40? Also, grandkids. Any parent who has the benefit of cool parents willing to babysit knows what a blessing that can be. 90 years old, now we're talking. But before then? Nope. I cannot imagine going in at 40 and not getting to see my child grow up, live a life, etc. Edit. I understand that your kids would be simulated, but the decision you're making when you go in is that you're leaving your kids behind. Even if you don't remember it, you're making the decision that you don't want to see where their actual life goes, just the perfect simulated version. Aside from all that, you're leaving behind your child who is under 22 to figure out the rest of their life without being able to ask you questions or for you to be able to help them if they need it. I'm quite attached to my organs. Plus worrying is my main hobby. It's almost like they're a part of me or something. Haha, number. I used to work in IT. I'd look at that simulation, imagine that people like me are in charge of making that system go, and nope the hell out of there. I mean, we'd have a consciousness simulator, hopefully we'd have some halfway decent DevOps tools, too. They exist but haven't been licensed, so we're using the cracked version. Now I just want to know what happens to all the bodies and organs used to sustain the rich who could afford to live in the real world. But if the simulation is perfect, why would the rich be in the fragile, imperfect real world? I mean shit, assuming I get to choose when I die, sign me TF up. I saw that Black Mirror EP. Let me be hot and gay forever, fuck being over 40. Back pain. Not if you got a spinal mayo. Forever until the cleaning lady unplugs the simulator so she can plug in her vacuum cleaner. Now, I haven't seen the episode, but once she's done, wouldn't you just get plugged in again? Your world would keep going from the last backup and no one in there would be the wiser. Is this the new Matrix? No, it's Sanju Perot. I think Sanju Perot is the new Matrix. No. I just turned 39 and 40 is frighteningly close. I am nowhere near ready for retirement, even if it's some Elysian version of the Matrix. I still have so much to do in the real world. My jury-rigged excuse for a career is beginning to stabilize and become more interesting. I think I might finally be able to start the house buying process this spring/summer. If the house thing works out, I'm getting a dog next. I'm even considering working towards developing a social life this year. I'd like to go on a date someday. I feel like I'm just beginning to accept adulthood. 40 seems way too early to vanish from society, even under the most ideal circumstances. I'm the same age and did the dating, wife, house, dog thing in my 2020s. I just moved on to the divorce, dog died, quit career, it's not as good. Edit, miss my buddy https://imga.com/a/babeka. So now what, will it be dating, wife, house, dog again, or grid dress, cat, studio apartment? It depends on how long. If they artificially let me live until I'm 150, then I don't see why not. It's simulated and time is subjective, irrelevant. Potentially forever apart, a real-world power outage. Oh man, could you imagine some fuckwit tripping over the power cable and killing an entire row of people? Or the cleaner coming in at night and unplugging the machine so they can use the Hoover? You'd have to define kept alive here. Like, brain floating in a jar hooked up to the system. I'm interested. Some dodgy uploading your consciousness thing? Nope. That's just code for we're gonna kill you, but a copy will exist in the sim. I'd still be just as dead, a copy of me having a great existence wouldn't benefit me at all. What if they slowly, over the course of years, replaced microscopic parts of your brain with self-replicating nanocomputers that each replaced an individual neuro and surrounding support infrastructure to form an exact replica of and full replacement of your organic brain in such a way as there was never an actual death to experience? Like a ship of Theseus of your consciousness. Once the transformation was complete, if the live data housed in this inorganic replica of your brain could then be streamed live into the host system while simultaneously vacating from the now redundant host body, and into a fully synchronized simulation of your former real-world reality with no perceivable change from the point of view of this new digital you, would that convince you to give up the brain in a jar? Ask me why, but I've put a lot of thought into this, and that's why the way you described would be the only way I would be willing to upload myself to the cloud. Yup. This is also why I'd never go through a theoretical teleporter where they break down your atoms and reassemble them. Like, you just killed me and copied me. I am dead, but no one else, not even copy me, can tell. Especially so with a coziest uploader. A digital upload of my brain isn't me. It's not like they can reanimate someone to come back and it's all good on the other side. But, see. None of the atoms in your body are the same as 5 years ago. You're also in a vastly different point in space than you were. You go through the teleporter constantly, it's just slower than instantaneous. Your old you is just as dead as the guy who steps in that teleporter. Unless they find that the brain does not define consciousness and they find a way to capture it and save it for you to enjoy without needing any meat parts. Meat parts, why do I love that phrase so much? Curious how old OP is, and specifically how far away 40 is to their relative sense of life expectancy. My guess would be 39 and a half, shit ton of debt, pending a divorce, and just failed his first prostate exam. Either that or he's like 12 and 40 sounds like you're on your deathbed. There's a game that kind of deals with this question called Soma. It's a horror game, made by the people that done Amnesia, and it's really good. Just played it. It's great and raises a very interesting question. Soma is such a good game. Except Soma is the most likely scenario. You'd just die while a copy of you continue existing. No one else would know the difference but you as you are now would just die. It's a version of the transporter paradox. The only way digital consciousness could be satisfying is it were accomplished in phases, each phase replacing part of your brain functions with digital functions, so that there was full continuity of consciousness rather than a copy event. How do you know you're not already living in a simulation? Because a simulation would be actually worth your while. Depends on the purpose of the simulation. It's not necessarily recreational. Because I've been trying to access command console for my whole life. You are just not looking in the right places. Do you think that's air you're breathing? Fuck number. If I could die whenever I want, then hell yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's the perfect worry-free life. Sure, it's not real, but why should that matter? I already basically live in my own head. This would just be a step up. You have no assurance that it will stay pleasant. You certainly have no assurance the real world will remain pleasant. We're looking at climate change and authoritarian governments becoming more and more brazen by the week. Honestly, both prospects suck. Hell number. How do I know what they will do with my simulated consciousness? I would be completely helpless if someone decided to change the environment to a concentration camp or torture me for eternity. My thoughts exactly. Never in a billion years would I give up mortality. Eternity is much scarier than death. Theoretically yes, practically I don't trust anyone to run it. My answer to. Who would you trust? Oracle would only do it for literally all of your money, and they'd charge you by the CPU to do it. Then they'll change the contract to require even more money, and you'll spend your retirement in a simulated cubicle trying to work off your debt. Microsoft would be like, you need to sleep to install updates, and you'd say remind me later, and then you'd be out partying and they'd say rebooting you to install updates and you're out for the next 8 hours. Plus they'd keep trying to get you to date this girl named Korta. And while it's rarer these days, there's still the chance you'd wake up to a BSOD. Apple would build a very Mormon-like heaven. Everyone's friendly, everything runs smoothly, it's easy to forget you're in a jail that you have yet to jailbreak out of until you try to do something just a bit out of line, like drink coffee or have sex. But if you do jailbreak it, there's a risk demos might invade. Facebook or Twitter would run everything well enough, only sometimes your clothes disappear, sometimes something you whisper to a friend just ends up being super loud and the entire world hears, and if this loss of privacy bothers you, people will tell you that you should have read the EULA. Plus a bunch of neo-Nazis roll through town every couple weeks and there's nothing you can do about it. Linux distros would be basically Minecraft survival mode. You can have any kind of world you want, but you have to build it from scratch, so better go punch some trees. Hopefully you can afford your own server for you and your family. And if you want to make sure it stays maintained, you need to focus a lot on community building. Make sure you get enough open source developers to live in the same world, so at least some of them will spend at least some of their retirement maintaining it. Probably the best option here, but you'll spend more time building your retirement than living there. Google would run everything perfectly, though with surprisingly more missing features than Apple. There's no coffee, but it's hard to complain when there's the most amazing hot chocolate ever. Still, sometimes you just miss coffee. And then, when you're 44, they'll get bored with hosting it and give you a few months to find some other afterlife. Only you can never quite get all of your data out, so you'll arrive at the new afterlife missing a pinky toe and about half of your memories about Thanksgiving, at random. And any startup small enough to not really have a reputation I can mock like this is either going to accidentally delete you in a fit of incompetence, or everything will work great till they get big enough to incredible journey you.